Welcome to Once You Know podcast. I'm your host, Amy Shaw, a business builder and a spiritual mentor. This is where alignment meets action and where we explore the real shifts, identity changes, and conversations that come with true growth. Because once you know, you know. Welcome to the Once You Know podcast, episode 3. Today, I'm going to be diving into a topic that is, I guess, not often talked about in the spiritual world, but it is why your circle shrinks when you awaken. So this is a really potent, important, but sensitive topic. So today I really wanted to delve into something that I see a lot with myself and my clients, but the more healing work that I did, the deeper I went down into my own healing and understanding myself and stepping into my power and authentically understanding who I was and honoring that, not shrinking that because maybe it didn't make sense to other people or because people weren't comfortable with that high energy version of myself. So today I really want to go into it because I know it is such a big thing that happens, and I know that a lot of the women that I work with have the same thing. So I really wanted to dip in today a little bit around my own experiences and I guess the heartbreak that comes when your circle starts to shrink when you awaken. So there's quite a few reasons why this happens. And I guess the first one, and if I use my own personal experience as, I guess, like a guideline or like a driving point in the changes that happen. But for me, I kind of woke up one day, it was after a really big night and I had been drinking till like 4 a.m. I was still drinking at that stage. I ordered KFC the next morning and I was like, what am I actually doing to my body? What am I doing to my life? How have I kind of misused my body, or why am I not honoring myself like I should be doing? So that was kind of the first big awakening where I really wanted to make some big changes in my life. I remember I had little kids at the time and I was just, a couple of years out of divorcing. And it was just kind of this like spiral that had happened of the party girl. I'd always been the party girl. I'd always kind of treated my body like it was limitless, I guess. And I started to be like, well, actually, it's not limitless. We have capabilities and we have health issues and things will start to happen if we don't start to look after it. So that was kind of how my awakening happening. But what really happened, and I guess like the really hard part of transformation, is that you start to kind of shrink back within yourself. So that big healing pattern for me, I kind of went introverted. I started spending a lot more time on my own. I started to do a lot more sunrises. I started to meditate a lot more. I really started to stop outrunning my healing journey. So when I slowed down, it was actually really uncomfortable at the start. I had to sit with my shadows. I had to sit with the fact that I was on my own. There was all these layers of emotions that I had outrun by partying or going out or working hard or training. So when I actually hit this period where I just completely slowed down, I listened to my body, I started nourishing my body, but more importantly, I actually started nourishing my mind. So I started really thinking about what I was watching online. I stopped watching as much TV. The things that I did start to watch were really beneficial to my mindset. So I stopped negatively impacting like my awareness or what was coming in through my system every single day. So the news was out. I didn't sort of scroll on Facebook and read the doom stories or anything anymore. So there was a real pattern of just wanting to completely clean up my environment. Now, it wasn't just people or just work or just this. It was my whole entire self. I was like, I want to be really good to my mind. I want to be really good to my body. Spiritually, I want to be really connected and feeling peaceful. But more importantly, I wanted to heal a lot of the attachments, the people pleasing. Why was I playing small? Why was I, talking about people behind their back? Why was I getting in conversations that I shouldn't? Why was I envious of people? So that was kind of the journey where I really was like, actually, that's just myself. That's an own reflection of my self-worth. So then I really started to dive deep into really understanding myself. And there was no big aha moments. There was no going to some big healer. It was very much around sitting in solitude with myself and starting to be like, okay, what is working in my life and what is not? And I started looking at patterns through my childhood, patterns that I'd had in my marriage and previous relationships. I actually started to be like, more taking accountability for how I had shown up. How was I at school? How was I as a wife? How was I as a mother? How was I as a friend? And I really started to unpack each one individually and starting to rewrite the stories that I thought were normal. So that was kind of really overwhelming because I was used to being around big crowds of people. I was used to being in crowded bars, going on holidays with families. Like, I was surrounded all the time. But what I realized is I was actually adding to that, or I was not treating myself very well through that time. Now, it was a very personal journey for myself. So there's never any blame. There's never ever me being better. But that was a moment for me where I really woke up and I was like, I want to have something more than this. I don't want to be drinking. I don't want to be hungover. So then obviously that isolation comes, and it's really, the silence is really, really loud. So in that time, I had to face all the parts that I had been trying to outrun. So that's when all my shadows came to the surface. That's when I realized what my attachment style was. That's when I realized, that actually honoring my ADHD and or my neurodiverse and how my brain works, and celebrating, yes, I might be late, yes, I'm going to miss things, but actually if I tap into my creativity, my visionary senses, I can actually create something really amazing. So I gave myself space, and I actually gave myself kindness and grace, and that was something that I'd never given myself. I was always hard on myself. I was always chasing my career goals. I was always just striving for more and more. Through that period, I was very much like people pleasing and trying to keep everyone around me happy by showing up the way that they wanted me to show up. So I guess what happens with the unlearning, I always say it's not you're learning to be something different. You're unlearning the parts that don't feel good for you. And then you start to remember what makes you feel good, what you are good at creating, and giving yourself kindness around the way that your mind works. I mean, all through school and through most of my adult years, it was, you missed that. How do you not listen? Why are you doing this? It was like constantly a negative thing. So I'd actually taken all that on board myself and said, oh, I'm disorganized. Oh, I'm lazy. Oh, I'm forgetful. Oh, I'm a bad friend. Oh, I never remember this. So then I had kind of created these stories around myself to, I guess, make it feel okay, or to, acknowledge what everyone else was saying around me. But yeah, so there's so many layers that come with it, but I guess it was that remembering and starting to remember the good things about me first, so that once I build my own power source, or I built my own identity, my own capacity to love myself, is when I was like, actually, you know what? I am really great in a lot of those ways. And yeah, I'm a pain in the ass. I'm fucking annoying in some ways. And I honor that part of myself, because I'm like, that's actually part of my personality. I can't change that. But now I've got empathy and I've got understanding. I'm like, not everyone's going to understand that part of you, and that's totally fine. What I realize is I think really big. I feel really big, like my capacity to feel humanity's pain or my friend's pain or all of those sorts of things. I am so emotional. I feel things really deeply. When people are mean to me, I take it on board and I sort of stew over it and I chew it over, and, it would really sort of impact me. Now I've learned that over that period of time, I started to change. But what I didn't realize is at the time I didn't realize I was changing. Yes, I was in my own healing journey. Yes, my boundaries were getting stronger. Yes, I was stopped people pleasing and saying yes when I wanted to say no. So if you're not doing your healing, or you're not used to that version of someone, it seems arrogant or overconfident or cold or dismissive, or you're better than someone. So I think that was probably the hardest part of the transformation, or that was the hardest part for me, to keep honoring myself when all of a sudden your group gets smaller and people talk about you more because, you've kind of like pulled yourself away, or you're really happy every time they see it and they're not used to that version of you. So yeah, everyone was saying, oh, you've changed, but we don't know why. And I was thinking, well, I don't know why either. What do you mean? I'm still the same. I'm still funny. I still go out dancing. Like, I still love being social. I still love all of those aspects of me. But everybody around me was starting to kind of like pull back, and it was kind of a little bit hard to be around. So that's where it got really quite painful. And to be honest, it was pretty brutal. There was some, long, sad nights and some weeks where you're like, oh my gosh, why don't people like me the same way? But what I realized is they probably never really liked the full version of me anyway. But more importantly, people don't like you being happy. People don't like you being peaceful. People don't like you owning your own power. For some reason, maybe because they haven't claimed it themselves, it doesn't make them feel good, or the light of somebody else illuminates maybe the parts of them that they wish they could express, but they can't in their environment. So yeah, your circle really shrinks. It really starts to close down. You have less friends, but you have more meaningful ones. You go from being part of big crowds to then showing up whenever your friends need it. You go from, being around a lot of people and being like, hey, all of these sorts of things, to then actually forming friendships and communities around you that openly love you, that celebrate you in the room or outside of the room. They don't talk shit about you behind your back. They're not, passing your stuff around if it's like the new topic. So that was a really big one after the fact. And maybe I had been a part of that culture, and I honor that part of me. And again, we all show up in the limited understanding that we have on our healing journey. But for me, I look back and I was like, how can you love someone and talk about someone? How can you be the biggest cheerleader in the room, and then when that door shuts, you talk about them? So for me, it was like a real internal thing of wanting to be so deeply committed to the people that were around me, but also there wasn't that many like me that wanted that deep, fulfilling friendship, or to work with clients where we're crying and holding each other and holding the space for all that growth. So I almost had to kind of rebuild that again. And for me, there's no disrespect or there's no looking down on anyone else, because I'm like, this was my journey. This is how I wanted to honor my mind and my body and the impact that I left, or the legacy that I was trying to create, or, allowing myself to be fulfilled from doing a purpose that maybe didn't make sense to anyone else. And I've often said as well, spirituality has grown into this momentous, huge word, which has got so many taboos around it. People's like, oh, I don't get that spiritual stuff. Oh, I'm not spiritual like you. Oh, I don't believe in the spiritual stuff. But for me, I'm like, spiritual is being a good human, adding more to the world, trying to offer a service, whether it be as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner, as a healer, as someone that creates artwork. It's about wanting to be a good human and creating more light in the world. So yes, it is around alignment, and there is some definitely woo-woo parts of the higher consciousness that obviously everyone's not going to dip into, and that is their choice in their lifetime. I know how it's helped me massively. I'm not against religion. However you work with your light, however you get your peace, I am such a champion of everybody working within the realms that they feel safe. So it's such an open space for it, but it makes me really sad that spirituality has become almost this big debate, when really it's actually just truly about loving yourself, honoring yourself, fulfilling a fulfilling life where you lay on your deathbed at the end of your life and you're like, you know what? I loved what I did. I created legacy. I had a wonderful experience with my children. I showed up to everything. I was a great friend. We're not always perfect, but for me, that is what spirituality is. And it makes me sad that even now I see, people like Jay Shetty or, different figures that are trying to make a difference. Oh, well, they're not spiritual because they've got a beautiful house, or, they're really cool, but they're too marketable now and they've lost way of their spiritual insight. And, back in the day, spirituality was driven in the monk era, where people they don't need anything. They can survive with just, peace. But that's not also relevant. People can be deeply spiritual and add impact to the world and be abundantly rewarded as well. So it's like, even at those top levels of mentoring or leadership, we're still stripping each other down and calling each other out for trying to make a difference. And I guess that's the side of it which makes me quite sad, when people are like, I'm not like you, or I don't believe in it. And I'm like, deep down in my soul, I'm like, it's just being kind. It's being a better human. It is holding more compassion for the earth. It's being a more calm, regulated mum, because I didn't want to be the yelly mum anymore. So there's so many, I could talk about that for so long, but I think, again, that word holds so much power in so many areas, but really it is always an inside job. It is about honoring yourself, your body, your emotional capacity to feel. As myself in the height of all my career and the height of, typical success, I was so disconnected. So I had a lot of money, I had a lot of things, I had a lot of people around me. On paper, I was looking fabulous. But I knew deep down in my soul that I was like, these aren't fulfilling me. This money is not making me fulfilled. This money is not creating more happiness within inside me. If anything, it was disconnecting me more from myself. But that doesn't mean that as I go further down my spiritual journey, I can't still access abundance and have a beautiful home and travel and buy beautiful things. I'm not materialistic. I don't have any attachments to it. But if I'm working in a space where I'm giving things to the world, I guess it's bringing that energy back in again and allowing me to experience more joy so that I can pass on more joy. So there's this real disconnect, I feel personally, and that's my opinion, of how we view people either in the spiritual world or in the business world, and why can't we be all? I honoured myself that I worked really hard in my career to build these businesses and to build how to market and build a community. Now, those things allowed me to actually do what I love and build it, and then teach other people and train other people on how to create your own community. And the reason I did my community was not to make money, not to sell a product or sell my coaching or leadership or whatever people like to call it. It was actually to create a friendship circle and a community that accepted me for who I was and celebrated all parts of me. Sometimes the annoying parts, obviously, we can let those fly, but generally that was why I create the events. It's why I started working with women one-on-one, because I was like, actually, I want you to feel seen as well, because we are such big feeling, primal, beautiful, raw, uncensored females. We are so powerful. We are so sovereign. We are so connected to our own power that over the years, we've just kind of been shredded down to whatever version other people feel comfortable for. So if I look back on, my past lives, for example, or other people's past lives, I'm always like looking at this gorgeous woman in front of me who's scratching 3% of her life, just surviving, putting one foot in front of the other, not really expanding, to her full potential. And then I look back on her past lives and she's like creating real meaningful change, and her soul is like really wise and expansive. So it's really wild for me that spirituality has to look one way, or you can't tap into inner peace or remove anxiety. Removing anxiety for me was one of the biggest parts of my healing journey. I was crippled with anxiety about future, about money, about my business not surviving, about everything I really thought could go wrong. I was calling that forward to myself. So part of that journey that I had with my own growth, and with really wanting to feel calm and peaceful and surrendered and know that there was a bigger purpose for myself, that was getting rid of the anxiety, getting rid of the sadness, getting rid of the stuckiness, getting rid of the imposter syndrome, getting rid of people pleasing or shrinking myself down to the smallest version so people could palate me. It was all these things that had come with it. So I always say, for anyone that is following the journey or is on their own journey, it doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be a Reiki master or a healer to tap into wanting to be calm and peaceful and re-regulate your nervous system and all the beautiful work that the healing does do. So yeah, there's loads and loads of layers. But as we go through that healing process, everything starts to shrink, and it comes into family units, it comes into your friendship units, it comes into work, because you have always showed up as the version that people understand, or showed up at the version where people are, if I look back and I'm really brutally honest, people liked the sad version of me. It was much easier to watch the sad, kind of weird spiritual one than the one in her power that is successful, that is invited to things. That's the time where people are like, I'm not watching this anymore. This is, they can't, wind it down as much as what it does do. So when you go through that journey, it does cleanse a lot of people out of your life. It does start to shed away a lot of people, and it starts to remove, I like to call it energy leaks. yeah, I like to call it energy leak. So you get to the stage where you start to then rebuild that community. So you start to be able to bring back that sense of community. You start to be able to bring back the version of you that can be fully authentically yourself. And as someone that has sat in all different walks of life and so many different versions of me, through that isolation period, it was really tough. There was a lot of parts of me that was like, you know what? It's actually easier for me to go back to the old version of myself. That version felt safer because I wasn't actually expressing who I was. Then you go through understanding who you are, and you go through this authentic building where you're bringing in your power and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I'm in my full purpose and my solar plexus is like blowing out this beautiful golden energy of amazingness, and you're just feeling so good. Then you take that version of you that you've built in solitude and you put them into the real world. Now, some people are going to respond really well and you're going to draw in those people at the same frequency. But because you have changed frequency so much from the old version of you, that you can't fit back into those environments. Now, that's not all the time. I've still got some of the most beautiful friends that I've had through every version that is showing up and being like, I love this version of you. Yes, I still love this version of you. Yes, you're a bit more wild now, but I still love this version of you. Those are the friends that are just, they were always going to be there, and they celebrate every version of you. But you will also notice the crickets. You will notice the people that disappear, the work opportunities that dry up. You will notice when the doors start to shut or those invitations don't come as much. You don't get as many people reaching out to you for the same things. So then you're like, oh my gosh, who am I again? And you go through this whole kind of identity crisis. But hold that vision of yourself, because that is your true, authentic vision. And there is no deeper peace, lack of alignment, so actually being in full alignment, then you can in your full authentic self. Then it allows the people to meet you where you are. So in that period afterwards, it feels really dicey because you come out of this like beautiful cocoon of solitude and you're like, I'm so fully in my power. I'm amazing. Like, this is who I am, and I hold my boundaries and I'm so strong. Then you get out there and people are, actually, I don't like the happy version of you. I liked you sad. I liked you in lack. I liked you wounded. So you've got to really then keep holding that, because then on the other side of that, your people find you. I have got the most deepest connections, the strongest friendships now, where we deeply love each other. We hold each other. It's so fully transparent that when you have a bad day, you're like, my world's falling apart. This is what it's looking like. And you don't worry about that information being skewed around and passed around a group anymore. You're like, this is fully authentically me. I'm struggling. Help me put myself back together. Then the next week, you're back to your full amazing self, and that's great. But then all of a sudden you can do that same holding. You can see that your new people in your community that come forward at the exact same way that you were put back together. So you're like, I can help you. I can see you. I see you for your amazingness. I understand that you just went quiet for 3 months because you were really in the thick of your healing. I just saw that, you were going through some really big work changes and you're struggling, but I'm here when you need it. So it just is such a deeper one. And now I'm like, how did I ever survive everything without that community? I am the biggest cheerleader for women coming together, celebrating each other, bringing each other up. And again, the women that I have met, especially over the last probably 1.5 years, they are that. We are that. It is championing each other. Everybody brings a unique gift. No one can duplicate someone else. No one has to worry about someone being better than them, because if you are in your own true authentic power, you don't have to worry about it, because no one can mirror what you're doing, because we're all using our own life lessons, our own soul's purpose to be able to add whatever we are to our friendships or to our children. So after that, you have to keep going. You have to allow that community to find you. Then the real expansion starts there, where you can all be happy together and sad together and grow together. And those are the environments where these powerful women are doing the most powerful things. So all walks of business leaders, releasing books, co-hosting events together, creating just the most magical workshops around business, around spirituality, around healing. So it's about allowing yourself to become it so that then they can find you. Now, I have got so many beautiful opportunities with people where there's no envy, there's no jealousy. It is just growth, and it is all growing together and being able to gift what you can give them and then allow that to come back again. So there's so many wonderful things that come with it. Also, you'll find that you outdate a lot of relationships. As you do that deep healing work, you realize that those younger years or relationships with your parents or past relationships that have created trauma within you, those all come to the surface. So again, for me, I sat within all versions of myself, the wounded version, the one that was doing the wounding, the one that was cheated on, the one that left, the one that was emotionally unavailable. I had to sit with all versions of myself and go, actually, you know what? I take full accountability for how I showed up and what my part in it was. So then doing that deep healing work, and especially if you're coming out of like a marriage or a long-term relationship, give yourself 12 months. The world is not going to pass you by. You are not going to miss your soulmate. You are not going to miss your opportunity. But what you will miss if you rush straight into something else, you will miss the biggest opportunity for growth. You will miss the opportunity to reflect deeply without being the victim and without blaming on your own limited understanding that you showed up in that relationship. How could I have been better? How could I have loved more? How can I love if I don't love myself? How can I parent if I wasn't quite sure how? So it was all these questions that come to you so that you're like, actually, I can sit with that shadow of myself. I can transmute it. I can work through it. I can start to understand, actually, you know what? I was a real dick in my marriage at some points, and I was really emotionally closed off because I wasn't safe to be seen. So there's all these things that come to the surface. If you are rushing from one relationship to the next, you're taking all that baggage, you're taking all that trauma, and it works with friendships as well. It works with jobs as well. If you can take some space to understand your part in it, not from a place of victim, but where did I go wrong? How could have I shown up better? How did I contribute to the breakdown of this? Because it's so easy to blame everyone else, and I had done it for quite some time myself, but now I still hold my boundaries, but I deeply see where I show up and where my lessons are. If the same thing is repeating to me over and over and over, I'm like, actually, this is a lesson from me, from the universe, to stand up and heal more. So what am I missing here? Because I don't want to repeat the same relationship, the same friendship wound, the same sister wounds, all these things. We are all pitted against each other as women, and we have done for so long, because when we rise together, we are beyond stoppable. And all these males, no offense to our males listening, but they are staying the same. They are not taking accountability. They are not pausing between to understand where they could have gone better. They jump from one thing to the next. Generally, not all the time, I must say that. I work with some of the most amazing, awoken, deeply committed men to understanding and transmuting what they have been through to be better as well. So, but a lot of it I notice from my female clients, that's where we're sitting in that energy. So taking that time after whatever that wound looks like, whether you inflicted it, whether it was inflicted on you, to really sit with all parts of yourself, heal them. So when you go into a new friendship, you're like, I'm actually going to communicate this because that is actually against my boundary. That is not feeling comfortable. I'm not feeling safe. Here's where I sit with it. You gift that information to them because you know how that's going to affect you. So they can either choose to go, I'm going to show up in the way that feels comfortable for you, or they're going to say, you're too emotional, or that's too much. So then you're like, absolutely, this isn't going to work for me because I'm not on that same frequency with you. My expectation is I will give you everything I've got, but it's an exchange of energy. We should be safe to be able to communicate in any way we which can. So for me, again, back in the day, I was not a great communicator. from multiple relationships. I was called the pot plant because I would just shut down and I would just sit there, and that would just drive people crazy. But what I actually realized, I didn't have the skills, or I hadn't learned how to communicate my needs effectively. So when I would do it, I would either rage a little bit, or I would be defensive, or then my final one was that fight or flight, where I would shut down. My nervous system would physically shut down and I couldn't communicate anymore. I would go back within myself, and then I would try and sweep it under the rug so that I didn't have to deal with it. So I looked at all of those things. So I taught myself communication, but because I didn't have my boundaries before, I was like, now I'm like, well, these are my boundaries. This is what being in my life looks like. Does this feel comfortable for you? Are you okay to move forward? Absolutely, cool, let's go. Otherwise, I'm like, it's only going to hurt one of us in the end. So it's about really understanding yourself and not letting someone else saying, well, that's not fair, or that's too emotional, or that's too much, then you say, well, okay, that's too much for you. However, that's the perfect amount for me. So I'm going to then go and mirror that back to me. So again, for me, in a relationship sense at the moment, I am so anchored in myself and my purpose. I don't need anything. I am, abundantly comfortable with the businesses that I do. I own my home. I do all of these things. But what it meant is, through that period I had on my own, the person that comes into my life, whether it be a friend, a soulmate, a relationship, they have to mirror that same piece. They've got to have their own purpose. I want to co-collaborate with someone now, because I've learned that, yes, there was elements of codependency in some of my relationships because I was scared of my abandonment wound. Now working through all of those issues myself, I've then come through the other side to say, well, actually, me without an attachment is just someone who wants to create a really deeply passionate life, which is full of passion and full of communication and culture, and we're grounded in trust and growth. So again, there's probably not a huge amount of males like that. However, I will only honor that frequency in my life now, because I have worked so hard to create it within myself. Now, I know 100% when this person comes through, it will click and it will be amazing. And it's just going to be, there will obviously be elements of blending and stuff like that. But because I'm so anchored in what I am, I'm not going to minimize my truth to win trust over anyone. So if something doesn't work, or a door shuts for me, or I shut a door, I shut it with so much gratitude, because I'm like, I'm really grateful for the universe for the redivert, or I'm really grateful that that door closed because that opens more. And interestingly, as I've gone through my healing journey, every time I'm like, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Like, this is the perfect time. It's time to bring this friendship, or this opportunity, or this soulmate, or this relationship, or this fun sexual relationship. Every time I think I'm ready for that version, I'm like, actually, no, because something breaks through and I fight further through my healing experience. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm an even better version now. So now I'm so excited to offer this version to someone, this deep, unfiltered, deeply wild, deeply passionate human being that I wasn't before. And I also have to honor that I haven't always shown up this way, because I didn't know this version of myself, or I wasn't safe to be it. So yeah, there's so many elements. I think I've gone a little bit off the track there, but yeah, that's all in that same thing of that deep sense where the universe makes it quieter while you heal. It's almost like that solitude or that isolation. Then it starts to build the community around you. But what we have to release is the timelines. I am like so released and surrendered to whatever comes. I'm like, when this fabulous opportunity comes, or this great new best friend, or this other amazing woman circle, or this great person that's walked into my life, or the love of my life, I'm just like, when it comes, I'm going to be at the version that can hold the capacity of it. But I also have to understand that people around me are still building that version of themselves. They're still working through their own healing. They're still working through their own wounds and their traumas. So I also have to give the space for whoever is on my path to come to me at this level, to mirror to mirror the inside of what I feel, or mirror my reality, because I'm not willing to sacrifice anything less. And I had always just been like, I've got enough. This is enough. Like, why am I looking for more? But actually, I'm looking for something so much deeper than what the normal person can go to, because it actually took me years to understand my depth, but then even longer to celebrate it and be like, wow, like how great would it be to be in a relationship where everything is just like expansive and we're freedom thinkers and we can see each other's side. And yeah, so there's some real exciting parts of it. But as it starts to shrink down, it becomes really, really confusing. There comes so many elements as your boundaries strengthen. What you realize is people don't like your boundaries because they've always seen you without them. So even in my spiritual work, I have to be really careful because I will overgive and overgive and overgive because I'm so deeply passionate about adding more light to people's lives. So I will run like 2 hours over a session, or, I did an event at the Cove and then did 20 readings and stayed there for like an extra hour or an hour and a half. And I just give so much because I'm like, I want to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then I'm like, what part of me feels like what you offered was not enough? So again, it's about working healthy boundaries of, if you talk about me, I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm going to remove myself from that situation. I never make a big deal about it. I just quietly exit. And I just don't talk about anyone. I just kind of go quiet, go within, and I will always hold that person in high regard. But people don't like boundaries when you haven't had them in place before. So my boundaries have got stronger and stronger as the years have gone on, and people don't always like that because most people won't hold their boundaries. They'll go, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it. Or actually, I'm going to sacrifice this with my children because this is expected of me, or someone else did this, so I'm going to match that, and I'm going to take away time from my soul's purpose or my family or my children or a friendship that I said I would commit to, and I'm going to show up. So I'm going to show up for all the versions that I need to, with still holding the commitments that I have in place. But now I'm so anchored in my truth that, like, I know on my deathbed, no one's going to care if I work 50 hours a week. What my children are going to remember is, Mum, you're on your phone again, or Mum, you were recording at night, or Mum, we missed the beach sunrise because you were too busy doing X, Y, Z. That's what they're going to remember, and that's what I'm going to remember. So I always make sure that I show up for those people in my life that I'm committed to, and that I've made accountability, that I will be there and I will grow and I will be present, and I will hold my boundaries even when it's not normal or people are really, really frustrated from them. So the other part that comes with that is I worked so incredibly hard for my peace. So for me, my peace was the most important thing for me. And that can seem selfish if you are not used to prioritizing yourself. But what I realized when my peace came, I changed for everyone around me. I started to show up different. I stopped talking about people completely. I was so focused on putting more into the world and holding my own accountability of how I showed up in this lifetime. So that was really huge, because with that came some really deep peace. With that became the space that I live in my home, where it's calm and it's peaceful, and that I honor all versions that show up, whether I'm sad that day or happy that day. I'm fine to be all of those things. The peace that comes through me and the environments that I'm part of, I always feel safe now. And if I don't feel safe, I actually don't put myself in those environments anymore where I feel unsafe, because my nervous system isn't used to having to contort myself to not piss off other people, or saying yes all the time when it's a strong no from my intuition. So that piece is the guiding point in my life. It allows my nervous system to regulate. It allows my mind to calm down. It allows me to show up for my children, my clients, my friends in the way that I need to. So for me, it's a non-negotiable. If someone is bringing chaos into my life, or if someone is bringing sadness, not the sadness in the way that they need my help, but if they are creating sadness on me, I will then exit from that situation. So again, to a lot of people, that will feel arrogant, it will feel cold, it will feel dismissive, it will feel like I don't care. But ultimately, I hold myself accountable for how I feel and how I show up, and I know how I show up. So if I'm not showing up in that way, I will communicate that quite clearly. But if I am feeling really safe in it, I'm like an open book. Like you can ask me anything about everything and I'm a really open book because I know that the people that are around me now are the people that I trust with my life and I know that it doesn't go any further. But yeah, I do think the hardest part of when your circle starts to shrink is you don't notice you're changing. And I think for me, this was the hardest part. I didn't know over the last year and a half that I was changing. Yes, I could feel my internal world was shifting. I was calm. I was peaceful. I was happy. I was feeling joy. I was feeling inspiration. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. So I knew that I was feeling happier and lighter. What I didn't realize through that period is to other people, I had changed a lot. I was harder. I was further away. I didn't have the same access. So I had to really sit with that because people keep being like, you've changed. It's not a bad thing, but you have changed so much. You are so different now. You show up so differently. Oh, you look really different. So I was like trying to fend all these and I was thinking, how? And no one could tell me. No one could say it was X, Y, Z. So I would say to people close to me, in what way? Like, how have I changed? How have I shifted? But no one had the answers because they didn't really know. But people aren't used to seeing people happy. People aren't used to seeing people in their power. People aren't used to people loving openly or feeling emotion or allowing these things to come to the surface because they were used to mask wearing or playing small or swallowing those thoughts or just being what they would call normal or I call it like I felt like the old me was shallow. There was no real depth to me. I allowed my emotions to go up to like the top of my throat. I didn't allow my body to feel sadness or trauma or anything. So now I'm a lot more expressive. I cry a lot more. I process my emotions a lot more. I try not to talk unkindly, but I will hold my boundaries and I will be quite forceful in how I do it sometimes. So now after, another 6 months of everyone saying you've changed, I've really started to understand what it looks like and that people aren't used to it and that's okay. And also, I don't expect people to stay in my orbit if it is uncomfortable. Like if I am triggering you with myself, my own authentic self, my power, like how I want to show up in the world, I can't change someone else's journey. I can work with my friends or my clients to be able to get them to have that same feeling. So that envy goes, that jealousy goes, because it's all programming. It's all limiting beliefs. It's actually, you're not generally not liking a person. And I'm not saying everyone likes me because there will be people that don't. And I honor that because there's people that I don't gel with. So I totally understand that. But it's about getting everyone to a level where you sit at a frequency where there is no jealousy, there is no envy, there is no fighting within each other, there is no needing to tear at each other's light or bring each other down or discredit the work that they do. So it's about really, now I understand it. Now I'm like, oh, well, I can't change anyone else's perception of me. All I can do is keep honoring the way that I show up, the way that I move forward in life, what I want to give to life, and not worry about anyone else. I worry about what my children think. And I often will say to them, am I showing up in the way that makes you feel safe? Am I honoring your feelings? And sometimes, especially my son, who is my mirror soul, will be like, no, mum, you're not. I don't feel like you're listening to me. I feel like you're stressed, or why are you on your phone? So we've got so much accountability in our house now where I'm like, yeah, of course, we're a device-free house. And then I'm sitting there checking my Instagram, or I'm sending an email, or I'm confirming a client. So now I've got to the point where I'm like, no, I hear you. I totally, like, I'm disrespecting your boundaries. So it's about then allowing those conversations to flow through and teaching the younger generation or the generation around us that it's actually okay to hold your boundaries. It's not selfish. It's not rude. It's not arrogant. It's not aggressive. You're not self-entitled. All these labels that people may potentially put on you because they're not safe to do it themselves. So there were so many levels of my world shrinking, but in that shrinking came so much peace, so much realignment, so much rediversion into my highest timeline of who I wanted to be. And then obviously it started to match my reality. So there's been so many beautiful things, but for me, I focus on divine health. And I know there's such a strong drive to be perfect, the perfect mother. I am not the perfect mother. I lose my temper sometimes. I will say things that are damaging, not meaning them to be. You know, we are all working with our own internal dialogue that is dysregulated and stressed out at sometimes. But I honor that my children chose me for the journey that we're all here to do together. But in terms of my divine health, yes, I eat lollies sometimes. Yes, I will have like yum cha and go out with my family and have all this sort of stuff. But for me, divine health is under so many different levels, and it is level of what I put in my body. It is what I ingest in terms of what I watch on the TV. I mean, I don't now because I've chosen not to bring that energy into my field, but what I'm feeling outside of me, the conversations that I'm a part of. Sometimes you'll notice after that change, you then go back into an environment and people are talking about each other and they're all great friends and you're like, oh my gosh. Like for me, I'm like, I sort of almost feel a bit like, oh my gosh, my heart starts going. I feel uncomfortable. So I've so changed what I listen to and how it comes into my life to then be like, actually, that doesn't feel peaceful for me. So that's actually a bit of a no. So now I know not to get involved in those conversations or stay back because generally it will leak my energy and then I have to replenish it. So alongside what we're listening to, the environments that we're in, what we're eating, it is also our energetic health. So this is where everyone's like, oh, it's the woo-woo, it's the spiritual. But it is about calming our mind and our nervous systems enough to release anything that comes up. So feeling things in our body, not trying to outrun anything that we're trying to heal. So it is about anchoring in your own divine power of like, this is what I want to change. This feels uncomfortable. Why is this feeling uncomfortable? Why is my intuition saying this? So again, that meditation allows you to sit with those emotions, bringing them to the surface and then being able to transmute them so you don't carry them or that programming doesn't stay on. So if I feel envious of someone, automatically I'm like, oh, here's a trigger. So instead of being like, oh my God, she's got everything I want and swiping and being like, no, I can't watch this, I will sit and go, why are you triggered from that? What is making you feel envious? And then I will go through the layers of sitting with those versions of my shadow. So like, oh, okay, well, I feel envious because that's something I want to do. And she got that opportunity. So I'll go, okay, well, that's amazing. Why don't you call that opportunity in? Or is there someone you can collaborate to be able to create? Or, you know, I will sit back with it again and go, actually, it was just a story because that's actually not what I want to do, but I'm feeling like I'm stuck in this other area because I'm not stepping out into it. So then I will challenge myself to go, well, go for it. And then I find I will look at that again later and say, oh my gosh, I'm so stoked that she's doing that. That feels so amazing. Or he's carving that out in life. Like what an achievement. So instead of sitting there and avoiding it, I sit with that version of myself and I honor it and I go, it's okay to feel envy. You know, you have felt that many times in your life before, but why are you feeling envy? Because if you are in your own path and in alignment, that shouldn't be happening. So yeah, there's all these things with your divine health. So everything you think. The last thing into that layer of divine health is your thought patterns. So this is the biggest one where I watch people, you know, running marathons and training and eating clean and no sugar and no alcohol and no vape. And then they are sitting there with this internal dialogue of body dysmorphia or hate for oneself or envy or greed or, you know, all of these big emotions that they're sitting with. So those are so important. So again, don't brush them away. Pinpoint what those shadows are and bring them to the surface. Why am I feeling like that? Why am I saying that I'm always poor? Why am I saying that I'm never going to find the man that I love in Christchurch? You know, if you create these stories in your mind, it becomes a part of your reality. So it's about then pulling in those shadows and going, okay, that's a trigger for me to understand what I need to learn from that. So I'm going to bring that trigger in and I'm going to sit with it. Okay, if I keep telling the story of the man that I want, this divine, awoken, you know, deeply in his purpose, high purpose driven, passionate, grounded in trust and growth human that I'm looking for, if I keep saying he's not in Christchurch, oh, he's not in Christchurch, he won't be here. I'm going to warp my own reality by pulling that back. So it's about really releasing the stories around it. I think sometimes we don't realize how unbelievably powerful our thoughts are in changing and shaping what our reality is. So as you reject things from your life, whether that be abundance, community, friendships, or you look at me and go, I couldn't be like her, I couldn't be on stage. Well, you might not want to be on stage, but if you do want to be, but you keep that internal story going where you are not safe to be seen, or you don't have enough education to be able to transmute or educate people. Now, I'm pretty sure I've got every learning disability under the sun, but I can tap into someone's energy field and help them to become their optimal self. It's what I do. It's what fills my light up every single day. The clients that I work with are my flex, because I'm like, I am so unbelievably good at that. Now, the old me would never be safe enough to say something along those lines. But now I'm like, I am really good on it. And I welcome these I welcome these clients towards me that I can transform their life. So I get these clients that are big visionaries. They're running big companies already, or they're all stages of their healing journey, because I have been each one of those versions. So please, 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 if I ask anything, it is just acknowledging those thoughts patterns. We don't even realize how much we're doing it during the day. Oh, I look old. Oh, my eyes are gross. Oh, this is happening. Oh, I'm really fat. Oh, I'm putting on so much weight. Then you'll notice you just get bigger. You get bigger. You start looking older. Your skin starts to lose its, its elasticity, or its collagen starts to go out. And then you start saying, oh, well, I'll never get those opportunities. I'm always in lack. I can't afford my rent. If I go and take this new business, I won't be able to pay. So again, it's about going, well, actually, I'm just creating a story before they already happen. So I'm stopping the flow of abundance and success that comes my way by my own thought pattern. So that is one of the biggest things of divine health that no one talks about and that no one works on. As you work through those thoughts in your head and you start to clear them, everything starts to shift away around you. So that is a really huge one. I've probably gone over time and maybe haven't even covered. But yes, the circle will get smaller. The people pleasing you won't do anymore, but people won't like it as much. And also just understanding that you can be the happy you. And if you lose a few along the way, don't stress about it, because the universe is bringing you someone at your frequency that will cheer you on, see you for who you are, and you can keep moving into that abundant life mindset. That doesn't just mean women. That doesn't just mean men. That doesn't just mean wives of wealthy men. That doesn't mean wealthy business owners. An abundant life is so much more than money. Money is just energy to be able to create more impact, or to be able to see the world, or allow your soul to enjoy all of the beautiful parts of life. An abundance mindset is being rich in community, rich in love, rich in your own self-worth, rich in the environment that you live in, rich in the peace, most importantly, rich in our health and our vitality. You'll notice people that have got a really lack mindset are generally run down. They are generally autoimmune diseases, or constantly getting sick or run down, or stress leave, or anxiety or depression. So again, our mind really shapes every way that we do it. So we don't have to carry it. And I know I say this all the time, but your life can be enjoyable. It doesn't take a guru. It doesn't take someone with the most expansive third eye in the world. It takes you wanting to own your own timeline and your journey and say, I'm going to come here and I'm going to love every single minute of it. It doesn't mean that lessons won't come. It doesn't mean that parts of your soul that want to evolve won't bring forward opportunities for growth. And sometimes those are ugly. Sometimes those are toxic. Sometimes those are brutal or sad, or all of those elements. But it's about when those opportunities or those growth periods come forward, you're like, okay, instead of freaking out and being like, my business is gone and all the doors are shut and my husband was cheating and I'm all alone, going, okay, well, this is actually a bit of a reset for me. So I'm going to understand all my lessons that I had to learn through the business. Did I love it? No. Was I blocking abundance? Yes. Did I feel safe in my marriage? No. So it's about then starting to unpack all of those things to be like, fuck it. The universe is here to support this amazing life that I'm building. It doesn't just happen for the ones you see with the millions of followers or Jay Shetty's. They all started the same way, with a deep soul's purpose to create real meaningful change. And it doesn't have to be in a leadership or mentor role. It can be working on the land. It can be an artist. It can be a teacher. It can be a stay-at-home mother. It can be a homeschooler. It can be a PE teacher. Whatever you are trying to do, you are still offering a service of light, of leadership, of education into the world. And this is the way that we're moving. We are moving or moved or transitioned out of those lower densities. So allow those people that don't want to rise with you to stay where they are, and allow them to stay there and honor the journey that they have. But do not shrink your gift. Do not shrink yourself to the small, palatable version that people like, or the unhappy version, or the lackluster version, or the version that is full of anxiety. Because what you'll notice in your lifetime, when you're sad and the things fall to pieces, everyone comes in. When you're flourishing and you're doing your best self, everyone's out again. Unhappy people like unhappy people. Sorry, let me say that again. Unhappy people like unhappy people. They feel safe. Angry people like angry people. So find the happy ones, find the peaceful ones, find the ambitious ones, find the driven ones, find the ones that love community, that love each other, that love themselves, because those are the rooms that you're going to expand. Those are the rooms that you're going to find your people, that your purpose is going to come to life. And so many people are like, ask me in my sessions, what is my life purpose? They can always change. My first one was unconditional self-love. I thought we only had one. I was like, this is me, unconditional self-love. Then I hit it. Then I was like, yes, I love myself. I honor all versions. I'm quirky. I'm wild. I'm spiritual. I'm all those things. Then I was like, oh, okay. So then my soul's purpose changed, which was lifting the consciousness of the planet. Now, that's quite a wild one. I'm a big fan of this new earth that's building, but again, there's going to be a lot of density in between. So I know that my job is to awaken as many people that I can, that will be able to grow and expand, and then grow their communities, grow their children, grow all of these things. So it is about deeply honoring your journey, not comparing it to anyone else's, being so authentically you that everybody finds you. And don't worry about the people that feel nervous or unsure about the growth, because those are the people that will keep you small. So anyway, gone massively over time. Honor every part of your journey. There is some hard parts there that I've just tapped into, but just know that your circle will shrink, that the solitude will come. That is where the healing happens. Do not rush that pass. I cannot ask you more than enough. Nothing that is meant for you on your path will pass you by. You will just keep calling forward more lessons. So you might not want to be alone, and you call in the next hottie and you're like, yeah, this is it. I'm seen. I'm this. I'm a single mom. I'm going to be this, because you will find yourself in another lesson if you have not sat and reflected enough on all of the parts. Now, I'm not saying that's always the way. Sometimes they will rush that soulmate forward. So do not avoid someone that comes forward either, but do take that time to understand yourself and anchor in all your lessons before you start the next chapter, whether that be work, relationship, marriage, friendships, opportunity, parenting. Just take the time to really understand your partner and what the lessons were. Anyway, thank you again for joining me for this episode. Again, I'm really deeply honored to be able to share what I can gift, or how my journey can maybe support some people along the way. So I'm going to open up as well. If anyone wants to flick me any messages about who they would like to see on the podcast, any topics that they would like to cover, anything along those lines, let me know. We've got a few coming up with some amazing guests as well. And then I'll just pepper in these little TED Talks or these little one-on-ones as things come to the surface. So I will see you very soon for the next episode of Once You Know. Because once you know, you know. Thank you for being here for the episode of Once You Know. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who is on their own healing journey. And if you're ready to go deeper, you can find all the ways to work with me in the links below. Remember, once you know, and there's no going back, only deeper alignment.